Round 2. Denial is the worst kind of lie, because it is the lie that you tell to yourself. Deontay Wilder told himself he was stepping up in class for his 8th bout when he fought Jerry Vaughn, who at the time was 2-0-1. 2 wins by knockout, no defeats, and 1 draw. But when you dive into those numbers, you realize it was smoke and mirrors. Jerry Vaughn fought Michael Lunsford, who was 0-3, and he TKO'd him. He fought Tommy Cliff, who was 0-2, and he TKO'd him. Then he fought Corey Gregory, who had 5 wins and 15 defeats, and they fought to a draw. Well, that's all it took for him to earn a shot to fight Deontay Wilder. Without question, Deontay Wilder knocked him out. Jerry Vaughn never fought again. Knowing what you know now about that fight, are you impressed? In his 9th fight, Deontay Wilder would face Ty Cobb. He had 30 fights, 21 wins, 12 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He had 9 defeats. 6 of those defeats were by way of knockout. At first glance, you start to think Deontay Wilder stepping up to competition. But let's dive in. If you look at the fights highlighted in red, and you look at the records of the fighters, you will see that it was very easy competition. 3-3, 0-1, 0-2, pro debut. And let's talk about Ty Cobb's first loss to Ross Brentley, a man who was winless with 9 losses and 1 draw. Seems like a cherry pick going bad, right? Then they put him back in with someone who was 0-1, in John Fish, then Marcus Brown, then Zachary McMillan again, before they fed him to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder knocked him out and claimed the victory. Ty Cobb went on to become a resume builder for Chaz Witherspoon, Arthur Spilka, and Trey Lepe. I didn't find footage of the Deontay Wilder fight, but I did find footage of a Ty Cobb fight. Are you impressed? In his 10th fight, Deontay Wilder faced Alvaro Morales. He had 27 professional fights. He won 6 with no knockouts. He suffered 14 defeats and had 7 draws. Alfonso Morales should work for LinkedIn because he was a resume booster. When you look early in his career, you'll see he received a lot of draws during the 4-round fights, but he did have some good names. He received a draw with Seth Mitchell early on in his career. Then they threw him in with Jonte Willis, and Jonte Willis beat him. For some reason, they threw him in with Jonte Willis again, and Jonte Willis beat him. They threw him in with Joe Hanks, and Joe Hanks knocked him out. They threw him in with Ashanti Jordan, and Ashanti Jordan beat him. They threw him in with Seth Mitchell again, and then Seth Mitchell beat him. Eventually, he made his way to Deontay Wilder. With all those defeats, and already being knocked out, he was the perfect target for Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder went on to knock him out and build his resume using the name of Alvaro Morales, along with Andy Ruiz Jr. and Malik Scott later on. I couldn't find footage of Deontay Wilder's fight with Alvaro Morales, but I did find footage of Alvaro Morales in a fight. I will show you this clip, and then you tell me, are you impressed?
And as we see Alvaro Morales enter the ring, Alvaro Morales weighed in yesterday at 283 pounds. He's calm and cool. He seems to be taking his time. He comes in with a left-right, both fall short. And yeah, Casper's arms are a little low, but seems to be fairly comfortable in there as round 1 reaches the halfway point.
Now, both fighters would be well invested to attack the body here.
In his 11th professional fight, Deontay Wilder fought Dustin Nichols. Dustin had 18 professional fights. He won 5 fights, 5 wins by way of knockout. He also suffered 13 defeats. All 13 of those defeats were by way of knockout. Dustin Nichols was first knocked out by Johnny White. Then he was knocked out by Greg McGee. Then he was stopped by Deontay Wilder. But when I say stopped by Deontay Wilder, he wasn't knocked out. He quit in between rounds. Deontay Wilder took him out. In typical Deontay Wilder fashion, it's not no fun if the homies can't have none. Deontay Wilder saw him get knocked out. Deontay Wilder wanted to knock him out too. So he did. Dustin Nichols went on to be knocked out by several fighters, and he was knocked out 13 times in his career. Does it say something about a man's power to knock someone out who's been knocked out already? 13 times he's been finished, but somehow Deontay Wilder's special because he knocked him out? That's what his fans will tell you. I don't know. Let's be objective. We have the footage. Let's watch and tell me, are you impressed? Deontay Wilder's 12th opponent, Shannon Cotto, is the very definition of watch for the hook. He finished his career with 17 bouts, 9 victories, 8 of those wins coming by way of knockout, 7 defeats, all 7 of those defeats coming by way of knockout, with 1 draw. But here's the caveat. When he fought Deontay Wilder, he was a man with 9 wins, no losses, 1 draw, with 8 of those wins coming by way of knockout. So of course, his record looked respectable when he fought Deontay Wilder. But if you take a deep dive into those wins, he beat Robert Moss, a man who was 0-2. He beat Steven Whitson, a man in his professional debut. He beat Calvin Miller, a man who had 6 wins, 26 losses, and 1 draw. He beat Dale Graham, a man who had 0 wins and 1 loss. He beat Jesse Porter in his debut. I can keep going. It's a waste of time. Look at the record. Look at the fighter. That's who he beat. Then he fought Deontay Wilder, and he got knocked out. After that, he fought Steve Collins, and he got knocked out. He fought Jacob Magnum, and he got knocked out. He fought George Foreman III, and he got knocked out. He fought Skip Scott, and he got knocked out. I can keep going, but just know that he's been knocked out 7 times. Wilder may have been the first, but he certainly wasn't the last. Are you impressed?
Step the right hand, Deontay.
Many people believe Deontay Wilder suffered his first professional defeat because he picked a bad cherry. He picked someone he thought was ripe, and it turned out he was wrong. This wasn't the first time his team picked a fighter, thinking this fighter was a cherry, and it turned out they were wrong. The first fighter Deontay Wilder picked as a cherry was Harold Skarners in his 13th professional fight. At the time Skarners fought Deontay Wilder, he had 17 victories and 20 defeats. Looking at his record right now, he's had 47 bouts, 18 victories, 27 defeats. 13 of those defeats were by way of knockout and 2 draws. But get into the night when he fought Deontay Wilder. That's where I want to go with this. Just for the record and to elaborate, Deontay Wilder was not the first one to knock down Harold Skarners. In fact, Harold Skarners had been knocked down several times, and he's been knocked out several times before he fought Deontay Wilder. But this particular night was special because Harold Skarners decided he was going to fight back. He dropped Deontay Wilder. If you don't believe it, take a look. BoxRec. It says it right there. Skarners down 4 times. Wilder down once. Wilder was dropped by a man with 20 defeats in his 13th professional fight. Still in his cherry-picking process, Deontay Wilder, the Bronze Bomber, Mr. Invincible himself, touched the canvas by a man with 20 defeats. That footage has been removed from the internet. No one can find it. I'm hoping, somehow, and praying, somehow, thanks to our new subscribers, and thanks to people tuning in at this particular point in time, maybe this can get to Tyson Fury. Maybe this can get to 50 Cent. Maybe this can get to someone who can get the footage of that video and send it to Boxing Bros. I would love to break the video of Harold Skarners dropping Deontay Wilder, the man who picked him because he had 20 defeats. I couldn't find footage of that fight. Of course I can't. No one can. It's like the fight that never existed. It's like Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. We hear about it, but we never see it. We know it happened, but we never get to see it. But I do have a clip. Let's take a look and tell me, are you impressed?
When I had the conversation with Mark, obviously I said I believe that Deontay had touched the canvas before too by someone named Skanders. I said I would check with you because he wasn't sure.
Right.
Deontay's been down before, right?
Yes. Fought Harold Skarners, who didn't have a great record.
After nearly suffering a defeat in his 13th professional fight to a man with 20 losses, Deontay Wilder and his team had a way to get him back on track. They knew exactly what they had to do. They threw him in with Dan Sheehan. At the time, he had 11 victories, 5 big wins coming by way of knockout, and 38 defeats. At the time, he had been knocked out 8 times prior to Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder stepped in the ring and did what Deontay Wilder does. Knocks out the overmatched. But Dan Sheehan had one more fight after Deontay Wilder. He fought Jose Morla, a person who had 1 win and 8 defeats, and then he retired. That is correct. After nearly suffering defeat, Deontay Wilder fought a man who had 38 losses, who had been knocked out 8 times prior. In fact, he was on a string of being knocked out. Take a look. He was knocked out by Adam Harris. Then he was knocked out by Juan Carlos Robles. Then he was knocked out by Jonathan Hagler. Then he was knocked out by Ron Nakash. Then Deontay Wilder said, "You can't forget me. I have to finish him off. I have to be the one to knock him out the worst in the most devastating fashion so people can think that I'm the most devastating puncher in boxing history, when in actuality, I just caught him at the tail end of his career." Are you impressed? For his 15th professional fight, Deontay Wilder fought DeAndre Abron. DeAndre Abron has a professional record of 15 wins, 10 of those wins coming by way of knockout. He suffered 10 defeats, 5 of those defeats coming by way of knockout. Keep that in mind. He has a 40% KO ratio. What matters about this bout are 2 things. His size. He fought at light heavyweight and cruiserweight for most of his career. Prior to fighting Deontay Wilder, he lost to Prince Badi Ajamu at 175 pounds. And then he fought Deontay Wilder at heavyweight Another thing to keep in mind, he was knocked out in 3 of his 4 fights before fighting Deontay Wilder. The names I do not want to butcher, but you can take a look. They're highlighted in red. He never won another fight. He ended his career on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fight losing streak. When he fought Deontay Wilder, he was 15-6. When he finished his career, he was 15-10. Keep that in mind. He was exactly what Deontay Wilder likes. He was someone who was already knocked out prior to stepping in the ring with him. There are 2 ways Deontay Wilder likes him, based on what we've seen, or maybe even 3. Actually, I'll say 3. He likes him with a layoff. He likes him if they already been knocked out before. And he likes him undersized. But hey, don't take my word for it. Are you impressed? In his 15th professional fight, Tyson Fury defeated Derek Ward Chisora. He was undefeated at the time, with a record of 14-0. Anthony Joshua, in his 15th professional fight, he defeated Dillian White, who was 16-0 at the time. You see the huge disparity between the level of competition. Is there anyone you saw in Deontay Wilder's first 15 fights that you believe Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua could not knock out? If they would have fought those guys and knocked them all out in the first round, would they be considered the hardest punchers in boxing history? I'm telling you, this can keep going. His opponents don't get better, especially the next 10. It's ridiculous. But if you consider him to be the hardest puncher in boxing history, just tell me, which one of his top 25 opponents couldn't Anthony Joshua knock out? Which one of his top 25 opponents couldn't Tyson Fury knock out? Really, I'm just being generous by saying top 25. The question is, should I keep on going? You let me know. This is kind of fun.